Okay, so we're going to talk about this bike that I'm on at the moment, the Benelli, the 502C, which I've had for a few months now. And it's all about how I think that it's not a bad bike. It's generally not a bad bike, but it's not what I would call an everyday bike. Now I've had it for a few months. It's not that I don't like it. In fact, this bike turns more heads than any other bike that I've owned or ridden. It's just everywhere you go, people look at it. Even if you're on the motorway and you're doing, I don't know, 70 miles an hour or whatever, and people are coming past you, or you're going past other people, they just stare at this bike out the window, because it's very different to just about anything else that's on the road. And I don't think there's more than a handful in the country, because I think Benelli last year only sold about 300 bikes in the UK, so not a vast amount of bikes, especially when you compare it to the likes of Honda and all that kind of thing. It's not a very popular model, really, for whatever the internet says. It's not quite true. In fact, when I was going through Italy and Slovenia and Croatia and all of them sort of countries where the Benellis are meant to be quite a popular bike, like the TRKs, I don't know if I saw any. In fact, I didn't see any at all. But anyway, back to this bike, okay? It is a really good looking bike. It's it just, as I said, turn heads wherever it goes. But now I've had it for quite a while, there are a few shortcomings. As you can probably tell about with going over the bumps a little bit, it's a bit stiff on the old suspension. It's a bit rigid. It's not plush or soft or supple. Thank you. It's a nice kind of firm motorway suspension, or long distance country road suspension, but pottering around town and commuting through the cities, which is what I think this bike is best suited at. The suspension is a bit on the harsh side. Even with a pillion, it's very, very harsh. Now, it's not a bad thing, because I've had bikes with a lot harder suspension, but for what it is, it's quite a harsh riding bike. The brakes, now they're sorted, because I had an initial problem with pulsing back through the levers, which turned out to be the dealer's not caring. Basically, it was a brand new bike, and it just sat around, and they didn't really do any proper PDI checks on it, so obviously the first thing that showed up was pulsing through the levers when I was trying to brake behind traffic at 70 plus miles an hour. Not much fun there. Turned out to be a very easy fix, which was on a video for, but that shouldn't happen on a new bike. Now, apart from the brakes issues, the seating position is very nice. The way the bike handles it's not a cruiser. It handles more like a faster sort of sports tourer, verging on sports bike. The feel of it really drives into the bends. Even though it's quite a long bike, it will tip into the bends you can throw it around, and it's a nice bike to kind of go around country lanes and all that kind of thing. And it really does inspire a lot of confidence in the way it handles. It handles really well. And I'm not sure if it's the bars. The bars are really wide on this, which gives it the edge when you're pushing on the bars to make the bike turn. It's acting like a big lever, but whatever, it does work. It works really, really well. The brakes themselves are pretty decent, to be honest. They're better than... they're actually better than my Honda. The front brake definitely is better than my Honda, and the rear brake's got much more bite. No complaints whatsoever over the brakes. The braking system on this is really, really good. You know, 2 sets of twin piston calipers up front really do make the difference. The mirrors aren't bad at all. The mirrors are pretty decent for their kind of very stylized shape, which is good. And they see more than enough around you. And I've got no complaints. Even at speed, they don't really vibrate. Now, on the subject of vibrations, there is a tingle through the foot pegs at about 6,000 RPM, which is right in the sweet spot of cruising on a motorway, which you know, sort of around about the 70 miles an hour mark. Which at first, if you're not using or riding with quite heavy soled motorbike boots, you know, the traditional style ones, and you've got a pair of sort of thinner soled, more flexible bike boots, you will be annoyed after a while by the tingling, and Pillions have said the same. And it's the fact that it does buzz, it gets buzzy, so I think I might go up a tooth on one of the sprockets, on the front sprocket, mainly because it will sort of change the range where that buzziness comes into, so it might be a little bit nicer on higher speed roads. Through the rev range, a bit lower down, it's fine. It's quite fun to ride. In fact, it's rapidly becoming, for all of its little quirks, my favourite kind of pull it out and ride bike. And I really do like that, because it's just one of those bikes. You get on it and you just feel like you're having a bit of a blast riding it. Now, it's not the fastest bike in the world. It's not, you know, it's not meant to be either. It's meant to be a cruiser. The engine is a twin and both pistons work in unison, which I think that's why you get that slightly buzzy nature at certain speeds. It's very, very willing. It's got a willing engine. It does rev really nicely. It's not too revvy when you're pushing on. Sort of about 6,000-ish at about 75 miles an hour, which is fine, fair enough for a twin. And it pulls right through the rev range. It pulls right through without any snatchiness of the throttle at low speed, any sort of on-off twitching when you're changing speed at higher speeds either. It is quite an impressive engine, really, for basically what it is. So, you know, the engine, no complaints about it. I think they could have damped it a little bit better in the frame. Probably going to look at some extra damped foot pegs for it, just to see if I can eliminate that buzzing if the going up a tooth doesn't do it. So that could be an option. But yeah, it's still really, really nice to ride. I mean, if I could just get rid of that buzziness, it would make it 110% nicer to kind of tootle around. And that's what this bike's for. It's just pootling around. It's just, you can use it as an everyday workhorse. I wouldn't see a problem with that. It wouldn't need much cleaning because there's very little shininess on it. It's all kind of matte paintwork and black. You know, you could just literally hose it down and it would still look good. So I have no issues with the way the bike rides. You do get used to the mid controls for the foot pegs, which isn't quite as extreme as forward controls, forward foot pegs, etc. It's kind of in the middle, but the first couple of times you ride it, you're trying to put your foot where you would on a normal kind of adventure bike or sports bike, and you're kind of missing the pegs now and again, which, you know, it doesn't take you long to get used to. The clutch is very light, doesn't drag, it doesn't shudder, it is nice to use, it's very responsive. The bike goes through its 6-speed gearbox really nicely, actually. The gearbox is one of the shining parts of this bike, and you can tell they put some effort into the gearbox and the way it changes, and it's even with a longer linkage with it being mid controls, you never miss a gear, you never miss neutral. It's very impressive for the type of bike it is. Overall though, this bike it's good. It's really good. As I said, there are a few shortcomings. The headlight at night is maybe one of them. The LED light, it gives a nice bright white feel, but it's very slim. It's very kind of letterbox-like. But you know, it's not the type of bike you'd be sort of traveling for hundreds of miles in the dark, so you can kind of forgive it for that. But you know, the main beam's good enough, the headlight, the dip beam's good enough, really. Nothing really to worry about, and overall it's quite a good package. I think they deserve to sell a few more. It deserves to become a little more popular. I think they should, you know, maybe promote them a little bit more in the UK, because I think they'd get a lot more sales. And at the end of the day, maybe people are getting tired of Royal Enfield's offerings, and then they can come across to something like this, or you know, the Himalayan may be a bit too small on power. They can come across to the TRKs. You know, there's loads of options for them. So, you know, but they have to start competing with the likes of Royal Enfield. Now, comparing this to Royal Enfield, that's a little different, because the Royal Enfield 650 pulls cleaner at higher speeds, which you'd expect. The throttle on the Enfield is a little bit more on and off, a little bit more snatchy, especially at lower speeds than this is. That's the basing on the Interceptor. It's even with a screen on the Interceptor, you still get just about as much buffeting as this bike does without a screen. The seating position on the Enfield is probably much nicer for long distances, and what impressed me about the Interceptor was there was no real buzziness. It's sort of long haul faster speeds where there is on this one, but kind of mid-range and around town and dual carriageway work. This bike has a more willing engine. It's got a better gearbox, because the Enfields you do get false neutrals on the Enfield, which I've yet to find on one of these. And you do kind of occasionally get some slight clutch judder, and I know a lot of that was to do with them. Well, they're both very low mileage and new, but the Enfield did it from day one and still does it a little bit. This one's never done it, so it's a case of trying to decide whether this is better than the Enfield. Well, it kind of is in a lot of ways. I mean, if I just pull away now, this bike really does pick up, and it picks up through the mid-range, lower kind of to mid-speed, a lot quicker than the 650 Enfield. But the Enfield has a bit more grunt further up the rev range. So it's kind of 6 and 2 3s, because I love the way the Enfield looks. The Interceptor was a bike that as soon as I saw the modern Interceptor, I thought I need to get one of those. The only thing that put me off the Interceptors, or Royal Enfields rather, not the Interceptors, a long time ago, were the rough agricultural engines and gearboxes, and then when they brought out the 650 range, I had to get one because it was such a nice bike to ride. And I'll be the first to admit, I'll never buy an Interceptor ever, or a Royal Enfield rather, ever. I just didn't like them. Squirrel. Whereas the modern ones, yeah, I've got a lot of time for them. This one I bought because I liked the look of the bike. I've never ridden one, never tried one, never bothered with one, Benelli, knew them from old, and I didn't think much of them until I saw this bike, and I thought, yeah, I've got to have that. And that's the only reason I bought this. If it was a bag of old nails, yeah, that was my own fault. I wouldn't have been happy, but I wouldn't have been that annoyed, because I literally bought it for its looks. And regardless of that, I would have probably used it as a modifying platform. So, but I'm happy I didn't have to. I'm happy it rides the way it does. I wouldn't use it as a long distance bike. I would probably use the Enfield as a longer distance bike than this one, but for pottering around and going around town and just having a blast, you can't get much better than one of these, really. You just can't. It's just the look of it, the feel of it, the ride of it, and also the cost. For the cost of one of these, you could buy it, have a lot of fun with it, and then when you decide, oh, it's time to get something else, you're not going to lose a massive amount of money on it. In fact, probably with its rarity, you probably wouldn't lose much at all on it, to be honest. And it is a bike that just puts a bit of a smile on your face all the time. It's one of those few rare bikes. So yeah, so that's this one after quite a long time of ownership and riding it. They're my thoughts. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this little ramble about the 502C, a bike I never thought I wanted, and a bike that's pretty much underrated really for what it is. Yeah, I'm gonna have a lot of fun with this bike through the rest of the summer. Ow, that was a big pothole. It doesn't crash, that's the other thing on potholes, it doesn't crash. It's stiff, firm, but it doesn't crash about. Anyway, I'm going to shut this camera down before it dies, because I can see the battery's getting low, and it was a bit of an impromptu video, so enjoy this, and I hope you enjoy the summer and attend Bikes Fest on Sunday, this Sunday 2026. Okay, and I'll probably do a video on that. Thanks a lot, see you later, bye bye.